Yesterday went over a more complicated technical type thing with using a spooky 2 Rife machine to experimentally, repair DNA, and who knows, maybe they'll make you live longer or whatever. But I'm going to put something out very, very simple on this update, and it may be that magic health longevity pill that's very simple. Actually, this goes back to a lot of studies even back in the 70s, but it's got a long, thousands of years historical basis, scientific basis. Also, it's scientifically based throughout the animal kingdom. And actually, I'm going to talk about vitamin C. Vitamin C. Now, yesterday I talked about, I'm going to call it GLO because I'm not very good at pronouncing this word. It's gulonolactone oxidase enzyme, which theoretically, according to some scientists, it used to be present in humans, and through a gene mutation, no longer was present in humans anymore. And humans used to live to be hundreds of years old, and actually that's referenced in the Bible. And I'm going to actually state it right here. Actually, the Bible says that Adam lived to be 930 years old. That's in Genesis, okay? Now, I'm not somebody that's really heavy into the Bible, but you have to remember that sometimes some of the fables that are in there that people think are fables, I'm stating that they're fables, maybe they're not, but some people think are fables, are sometimes really dovetailing into new scientific discoveries, like Noah's Ark was one. And I'm not getting on with the religious thing here exactly, but I want to point it out because you want to look at this is probably, maybe it's historical fact. Noah lived to be 950 years old, and that's according to the Bible. But then as the gene war became dormant in the body, there were successive years where Shem lived 600 years, and like Moses lived to be 120 years. And it says that would actually scientifically coincide with the gene going dormant. Now, most animals in the animal kingdom have the 4 enzymes present where they can manufacture vitamin C in the body, like cats have it. If they did not have it, they would have much, much shorter lives. Now, this is actually something scientifically possible, maybe, to maybe introduce this gene back into humans and thus have a much longer life. Now, I want to get into the conspiratorial side of things for maybe the conspiracy buff, but maybe this isn't so much of a conspiracy. As you well know, that there's a lot of big money people out there that are very much on a high strata of socio-economic and political power that are actually calling for the population to be diminished in the world. Now, I don't agree with that because actually, if we look at all the unpopulated space in the world and all the potential for agriculture that can exist everywhere else, and all the ideas from people that are totally suppressed throughout the world. In other words, can you imagine if Nikola Tesla was, a slave on a farm someplace tilling the soil and was never able to progress his work? We would never have anything we'd have today. Maybe there's loads of those type of people out there that are getting screwed up, right? And it's like that everywhere, right? I mean, it's not that impossible to think that. But the problem was if people live to be hundreds of years old, we'd have a population explosion on this earth like crazy. But the way I look at it, there's unlimited potential because by that time people actually used all their resources and brain power. There'd be plenty of room on this earth. There'd be probably going to the Buck Rogers days where we'd be living on other planets for all I know, or under the ocean or whatever. You know what I mean? There'd be something else going on. People would figure it out. So I don't like the know-it-alls at the top that say that the earth needs to be less population. But the point of this actually is that possibly through vitamin C, you're going to get a lot more protection of your health and actually add to your longevity. Now, actually, they found the differences between men and women. A lot of times the women will have more vitamin C in their body and retain it longer. So they talk about the estrogen and all this type of stuff, but that isn't that much of a difference. It's actually the vitamin C. And it says actually, in other words, in scientific facts, is mammals who make their own vitamin C, which is most mammals on this earth, including like cats and dogs and goats and all this type of stuff, can live to be 8 to 10 times beyond their age of physical maturity. But you understand a mammal matures in a couple years or a year or something like that. So, but if you took that same extrapolation, of 25 years, and you said 10 times, that would be 250 years on a human, right? So today humans only make 3 of the 4 enzymes required to convert glucose sugar into ascorbic acid. So if you have this capability, which it looks like possibly Noah had and Adam had, the first man on earth, whatever, if you believe it or not, I'm not going to force this on people if they want it, but it could be that the Bible is absolutely historically accurate, and it's science is just discovering why it's accurate. But anyway, it could be that people could have lived that many hundreds of years with this vitamin C if it's produced by the body, and it is produced by the body on most mammals on this earth. It says it looks like one of the genes has went dormant, and like I was talking about this thing with the Rife Spooky 2 machine, it has this thing, and it's experimental. I'm not saying it's gonna work, but hey, how are you gonna know it's gonna work? It's experimental, that it's trying to waken up that gene and do the DNA repair, and that's partly in conjunction with the anti-aging compound called vitamin C. You see, in the American way of thinking, or the U.S. government way of thinking, or whatever you want to call it, I don't want to be critical of the government per se, but vitamin C is thought of as a supplement, a necessary supplement, a necessary nutritional substance that we don't manufacture in our body, but you need it in our diet. And actually, in the animal world, it's actually like a hormone. They produce it on their own, like a cat produces its own vitamin C. If you buy cat vitamins, they don't have vitamin C in it. They probably should add a little extra, but they produce their own vitamin C. And as the animal gets older, the actual progression of the vitamin C production slows down. So it could be one of the most powerful anti-aging agents out there. Now, I also want to point out that people who smoke. Now, I'm going to, I'll point this out for women. You see women get the lines on their face from the smoking, and they say it's from the toxins in the cigarettes. And yes, that's true. But did you know, just a few cigarettes is enough to pull out the whole daily requirement of vitamin C out of your body? Just a few cigarettes. I mean, it's kind of like an estimate, how many cigarettes it is. But if you smoke a pack a day, you're actually pulling out at least a few times the recommended daily requirement of vitamin C. And vitamin C is actually known as a collagen protector. But you have to remember also, vitamin C by itself, it's better to get it through the fruits and vegetables, but you could not possibly get enough of it through the fruits and vegetables to, let me say, allegedly get the optimal levels. You see, that's part of the problem, because if you're extrapolating with what happens in the animal kingdom, in other words, let me put it this way: it's almost like, in other words, they talk with the government studies that say the recommended daily requirement of vitamin C might be, 200 milligrams. Well, do you know a mouse makes 275 milligrams of vitamin C per kilogram of body weight, a mouse? And a cat weighs, more than that, and they make more vitamin C. Just a little cat, and it weighs, a dozen pounds, makes more vitamin C in its own body than a human's supposed recommended daily allowance by a couple times at least, several times. And if you extrapolate, and it's pretty much consistent with the ratio is, like in other words, a 160-pound goat, a goat, right? So that's 160 pounds, which is equivalent to like human weight, maybe, or maybe it's less or more or whatever. But it's a roughly equivalent. It produces about 13,000 milligrams per day, and even more under stress. So is that what the optimal level is for the human? You know, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, because maybe it is. Maybe that's what Noah did, or Adam did, or whatever. Not Noah, actually it was, Noah. No, I was thinking of Moses. Moses lived to be 600 years old. Noah, I think, was 950 years or something. Per the Bible, per the historical record, how's that? Whatever you want to put it. But anyway, government health officials recommend about 90 milligrams. You know, here are goats getting 13,000. I don't know, man. And you can say maybe a goat's different, but you look throughout the whole animal kingdom, any animal that produces vitamin C in its own body, which is most of them, they produce many more times than what the government would say is the recommended daily requirement. They've even found that animals that live in the wild, they might have a better diet, and sometimes they live longer than if they are in captivity. So, can it prolong life? You don't almost think it would, because there's a lot of other health benefits that were touted. You see, the problem with vitamin C is it's dirt cheap. The money angles, it's like, there is no money angle here. But, the other practical problem of the vitamin C thing is, or, taking extra vitamin C beyond, well, there's one, I guess, big drawback is that it could upset your stomach a little bit, and you might have diarrhea or something if you take too much of it or something. And the other problem could be that you will not absorb what is on the label. In other words, you think you're taking several times more or something like that. It's not going to absorb into the body. Now, I'm not going to say to do this, per recommendation, but there are doctors who have experimented with injections of vitamin C. I don't know if it's how that formula actually is, if it's what's in the vitamin C itself, but in the blood. And there's been controversy about this, and it's helped with certain types of diseases where it's, in other words, it's another cheap thing out there that could possibly knock out some pharmaceuticals, but we'll just put that as a conspiracy theory versus a true fact, because I don't want to put it out there as a fact, because I've read that it's a fact. I've read the studies that it's a fact. It's sometimes injections done by a doctor under certain scientific parameters or whatever, they will actually use the vitamin C, and it helps knock out a lot of insurmountable problems in the body with cancer and all this other kind of garbage. But anyway, that may be true. That may be true, because it looks like vitamin C is used by the rest of the animal world in a number of different ways. And it may also account for the difference between the longevity between women and men, because actually the women have more vitamin C retained in their body. Now, I just want to put out something simple. I don't sell this brand. It's not a commercial. But, if you ever want to, like, say, take some vitamins and you say, I don't know what, I hate taking pills. I don't know. This might be something. Ester C gummies. Now, I know they got some sugar in it and stuff like that. But, hey, if you want to take a supplement once in a while, that may give you a little extra health edge, possibly. This is cheap. I mean, this whole bottle is like, $8, and it's got, I don't know, hundreds of tablets in it. And they're very easy to take. They're gummy bear type, and it's got several times the recommended daily thing. Now, this doesn't even have anywhere near what the goat would take. Like a 160-pound goat would take about 15 or 16 of these things, believe it or not. So, not saying that you should, but it's actually several times more than the recommended daily allowance. And it may actually come into play where it's going to actually help you, because vitamin C has a load of different things, benefits to it. They proved with anti-inflammation, regulating blood sugar, It's been noted for lengthening the telomeres on the DNA. The telomeres are the extra protection on the DNA that, so when the DNA replicates, if the DNA gets shorter, it uses up the telomeres, and extra vitamin C has been shown to help the telomeres stay long, so the DNA replicates. It's got an exact copy because your cells in your body are always replicating. So as you age, you lose some of that information because the telomeres get shorter. So vitamin C is another thing that's supposed to help with that. But it's it's an interesting theory because some of the things that are touted out there, and like you might see this in Hollywood, they'll talk about using like growth hormone replacement therapy. Now that stuff can be extremely dangerous, and it's just like where Hollywood gets victimized by the big bucks bullshit, because growth hormone, and there's actors and actresses, or just actors, if you just use the word now, it's just actors. They use that to give them the best youthful appearance or whatever the hell it is. And this could be a case where the big bucks gets influenced by the big bucks BS, because it's a lucrative, expensive type of hormone to give to people. The ones that sell it to them or whatever the hell it is, or administer it or prescribe it. It's like they're making a lot of money off these people. And it may not be very effective or safe, because growth hormone, it could be good in certain instances for some doctors. In other instances, it could actually help the growth of tumors, things you don't want growing, something bad. So in the case of vitamin C, it's kind of like protects the collagen. That's a big thing, because collagen is not just the skin or wrinkles and stuff like that. Collagen is all throughout the body. It's all the tendons, the ligaments, it's all the connective tissue, it's all throughout the body. Vitamin C is very important to that. And it's possible that the optimal levels of vitamin C are much, much higher than what the government's recommended daily allowance is. Because when you look at what the animal world does, you can say, oh, it's the animal world, they're different. But throughout the whole animal world, where most animals actually produce their own vitamin C, they will produce many, many times more per pound than the recommended daily requirement. If you look at a cat, it's like a cat produces many more times in its 12-pound body weight than a recommended daily requirement of a human. Why is that? I don't know. Is it because it's a cat? But if you look at a dog, you look at a mouse, you look at a goat, you look at any animal out there, which is most of them, it's consistent. They produce many more times per pound than a human is the recommended daily allowance for a human. So that's another indication that the optimal level may be much higher. Now I want to actually add something on the end here about iron. And this is kind of, not just iron per se, but something a little bit related to, because everybody knows about iron. Too much iron could be bad. Iron's very essential for the red blood cells. And they say, like, women who are, they menstruate, they lose a lot of their iron, and sometimes they might have to have extra iron. But that also protects them from having too much iron. If you have excess iron in your body, it almost works like rust. And actually, a lot of males get a lot of extra iron because they'll eat foods that have iron, like cereals and meats, that have 100% of the iron in it. So if they have a bowl of cereal that has 100% of the iron in it, and they usually have a double or triple bowl, they have 300% of the iron in it, and plus they have meats that have iron in it, they will have maybe 6 times the amount of iron that they need. When you have excess iron, that actually works like rust in the body. Now I'm going to point out something here. This is not well known. Now, so I don't sell this or nothing, but it's not a commercial, but it's a supplement I take. It's IP6. Now this is another long word I'm not going to try to pronounce. It's 6 phosphorus molecules or something, or hexaphosphate, or IP6. It's got 6 phosphorus molecules, right? It's compressed, so it's basically it's got what it has in this is it will absorb excess minerals. It will not absorb minerals that are being used by the body, but excess minerals. Like if you have too much of, it's if you have too much iron in the body, this will remove it. It'll remove the excess deposits after a period of time without doing any kind of expensive chelation. You heard about that chelation therapy where the people go and they have their blood go through a machine and they take all this junk out of it. Now, I mean, that's one aspect of it. It takes out too much of something and too much of this. So if you have, there's these things are needed, but there's a balance. There's a balance of how much. Too much iron could be bad. You notice, like even vitamin supplements, sometimes they come with no iron, right? Because you need it, but if you have too much of it, it's no good. There's certain vitamins, like I know some of the B complex vitamins, you could take a lot of them because they just flush out of the body. Vitamin C looks like another one too. It's another one. But there's certain other ones that accumulate in the body, and they can be dangerous to take too much of it. So I should say this because, some people, doctors might say, if you take a lot of vitamins, you just have expensive urine because you just flushed it out. But, at least with certain types of vitamins, they're much safer because they're water soluble. But in the case of like iron, even though it's totally essential to the body and red blood cell production, hemoglobin, whatever, it's like if you have too much of it, it's actually harmful. So this, not well known, IP6, can take the body's excess iron out, and actually other types of problems where you have too much sodium, potassium, magnesium, and other things that copper, calcium, other heavy metals, mercury, lead, cadmium. If you have this and it's in your body, this can help take it out, IP6. It's actually something that actually comes from the brand of brown rice. I think that's where it's actually manufactured from. And some of the best supplies of this, I'm not going to tell you where to get it per se, but they actually come from Japan. Japanese rice is well noted for good health, right? But actually, it's actually coming from the brand, I think, of brown rice. I just want to point that out at the end, but vitamin C could be one of your cheapest things out there for, just general good health that you might want to take more than the recommended daily requirement. I'm not going to say how much more. I'm not going to say to take as much as the goat takes, which is, that would be about 16 of these freaking super strong pills. But it gives you an indication that the recommended daily allowance that's established is not actually the optimal daily allowance. And it may be that science, which is not pursuing this because it looks like the big powerful people up there do not want excessive population on this earth. But it looks like science, if they pursued this and they went ahead and found a way to get this GLO gene back, which I can't say this word again, but the GLO gene that's missing, which we need four genes with some kind of gene therapy back in humans again, where they produce their own vitamin C, maybe people will be living to be hundreds of years old, like in the time of Noah. Maybe. You know what? It could be that, I know some people, anytime I mention something religious, I get the religious people say, yes, of course that's right. Why do you even doubt it? And I get the non-religious people tell me, why are you bringing up that religious stuff? No matter what I say, it's like controversial, But let me put it to you this way. It may actually be very historical fact that's in the Bible where they had these people live to these long ages. It might have been because they had the vitamin C gene, just like is found in most of the animal world. And like I said, again, most of the animal world that actually has this vitamin C gene, where they produce their own vitamin C in the body, produce way more vitamin C, like as a hormone, not even as a nutritional supplement, way more as a vital hormone for their body to function than what is in the human body. So that we even take for supplementation. I mean, you couldn't even get that much. You'd have to have like, way more bushels of fruit than you could possibly even eat. It would be, way over calories than you could possibly have. So possibly supplementation may be a method to greatly increase your health with vitamin C. Maybe. The problem is absorption. You don't actually absorb a lot of what you take in, so it may be somewhat over the recommended daily requirement is the optimal level, but you can't go too high because it will not absorb into the body, and that will be a time for possibly gene therapy. But I just want to recommend that that might be a dirt cheap way to bring up people's health and longevity. It may be. Remember, like back in the 70s when the vitamin C was touted to be the big thing back then. There's probably a lot more truth about that, and that truism is 100% valid today, even though it's gone out of vogue. So keep that in mind.